Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be going over all my luxury beauty empties that I finished throughout the past, I want to say year and a half. I have not done an empties video in so long. So I'm going to be letting you know all the products that I have repurchased or will be repurchasing, or the products that I don't think are worth the money, because I feel like I have a lot of products here that while they're good products, I don't necessarily think they are worth the repurchase because I have found better products now. So let's just get started because I honestly have so many products. I'm going to start off with primers. So I went through the Chantecaille. This is the Ultra Sun Protection Sunscreen SPF 45 primer. So this is an ultra smoothing primer. It is basically a primer sunscreen skincare hybrid. And I really enjoy this because it sits very well under makeup. A lot of SPFs, they can be a little bit more finicky under makeup. Sometimes they can pill. Sometimes they can give your foundation a little bit of a white cast. And for me, SPF is very important in my skincare routine. And this is something I can rely on. Not only that, it does make my makeup that goes over top apply very smoothly. This reduces the appearance of pores and texture on the skin. And this is a really nice sunscreen / primer for my dry skin. Not sure how it would work on oily skin, but I have already repurchased this product. So, of course, that is a repurchase for me. The next primer I went through is the Beauté Brightening CC Serum in the shade Sunny Flash. So, I actually went through this probably like 6 months ago, and before I went through this primer, I did repurchase a backup. So, I already have another full size. However, once I go through that primer, I will not be repurchasing this because I have found a better product, and this is highly fragranced from Beauté. I am someone with sensitive skin, so this is a product I can't use every day because it will irritate my skin. And it is a lovely primer. It does have some perfecting properties. It's nice to wear alone, or you can wear it underneath a foundation. But I found something that is even more blurring and that I think looks better and sits better on the skin, and that is the Chantecaille Anti-Aging Face Tint. So just because I like that Chantecaille Anti-Aging Face Tint better, I'm not going to repurchase this because I kind of think it's pointless to have in my collection. Like, why would I repurchase this when I like the Chantecaille one better, and the Chantecaille is my holy grail? So I won't be repurchasing this, but I think it's nice. I just don't think that one is worth the price. The last primer I have to mention is the Victoria Beckham by Augustinus Bader. They did like a collab on this Cell Rejuvenating Priming Moisturizer. So it is an illuminating complexion cream. This was the original shade. I actually have the bronze shade. She has 2 different shades. And again, very similar to the Beauté CC Serum. They are different. The Beauté CC Serum feels like more like a serum where it really just melts into the skin. Actually, this does too, but this actually feels like a moisturizer that has a little bit of a tint to it. I like this, and I think it's good for dry skin, but again, the Chantecaille Anti-Aging Face Tint, to me, is so much better than this Victoria Beckham that I'm not going to repurchase. I think Victoria Beckham just raised her prices as well. Shipping to Canada is not fantastic. Every time I order a product, it takes about a month, sometimes longer than a month. Sometimes I have to pay duties. Not worth it for me, so I won't be repurchasing this. For me, I think I used to think it was worth the money, but now I just kind of feel meh about it. Like, it doesn't do anything really fantastic for my skin. It feels decent. It doesn't feel ultra hydrating. And with someone with dry skin, I want a priming moisturizer product to be a little bit more hydrating. I don't think this is bad. I just don't think it's worth the money anymore. So once I go through my bronze one, I won't be repurchasing just because I think the Chantecaille Anti-Aging Face Tint is more blurring. Again, it gives me, I like to wear the Chantecaille Anti-Aging Face Tint alone more than I would this Victoria Beckham. The Victoria Beckham, it has a little bit too much of a shimmer for me to want to use alone without adding foundation over top. So that's just my 2 cents on the Victoria Beckham. And we are going to move along to foundation products. I went through 3 of the Chanel Les Beiges Water Fresh tints, and I went through 2 mediums and a medium plus. So honestly, I go through a lot more complexion products because I get up really early and I go to the gym every single day. before, like right after I wake up. So sometimes I do apply my makeup twice. I apply it to go to the gym, and then I'll wash my face again, and then I'll reapply it. So sometimes I am applying makeup twice throughout the day, which is why I go through Complexion Products a little bit quicker. But I went through 3 of these. I like to use these on no makeup days. I love to wear this when it's really hot and humid out, especially in the summertime. This is kind of my go-to foundation product because it looks so natural on the skin. It is a skin tint. It gives that blurring effect on the skin, just makes your skin look even better. And this is a product that doesn't look like makeup on the skin. So if you're really trying to go for that no makeup look, this is the product I would recommend to you. It is just beautiful. Really long lasting for a more sheer coverage product. It does set down by itself. You don't necessarily need to add powder, especially again if you are in a hot or humid climate. This is just my go-to, and I have repurchased this. I already have a backup that I am currently using. So for me, this is definitely worth the money, and this has already been a repurchase, so highly recommend these. I also went through a container of the Chanel Le Beige Water Fresh Complexion Touch in the shade B30. I actually really like to use this under my eyes as a concealer. Again, it pairs very beautifully with the Chanel Water Fresh Tint. In the summertime, I'll use the Chanel Water Fresh Tint as my foundation. This is my concealer, or this is just a great everyday concealer because it is so lightweight, it is so natural. It really meshes with the skin without it looking like you are wearing a concealer. It gives a very light buildable to medium coverage, and I actually had a subscriber, one of you, thank you so much for the tip, recommend pumping a little bit of this into the Water Fresh Tint just to add a little bit more coverage, just on those days where maybe you want something that is better or more coverage than just a sheer tint. So I thought that was a great tip, and I tried it out and it works beautifully. So if you just want to add a bit more coverage to your Water Fresh tint, add a little bit of this. You can also use this as your concealer, and such a great product. And I already have repurchased that as well. I already have another one going currently because I just think this is a fantastic daily concealer. Also, you could use it as a foundation, but it does contain a little bit less product than the typical Chanel foundations. This is only 0.7 fluid ounces, so it's only 20 mLs. Definitely less product than a full 30 mLs or 1 ounce of product, but I use it more as a concealer than I do a foundation, even though it does work really nice as a foundation as well. It just provides a little bit more coverage than the Water Fresh tint. I finally went through my Surratt Dewdrop foundation. I think I had actually had these since like 2019, which is probably I probably shouldn't be using a foundation that long. I don't know if that's extremely hygienic, but I finally went through both of these foundations. I wore the shades 10 and 5, and I basically mixed them because 10 was a little bit too deep, 5 was a little bit too light. But these were really great foundations. I really like the Surratt Dewdrop foundation. Not the most optimal way to dispense a product. It's not a pump, it's not in a jar, but it was a very beautiful foundation, very skin-like foundation, melted into the skin, has this light reflecting technology, so it does have that really blurred appearance on the skin. It wasn't the most long-lasting foundation, especially compared to the newer foundations on the market. So while I love this foundation and think it is beautiful, I will not be repurchasing this just because I kind of have my top 5 favorite foundations, and if something doesn't make my top 5 list, I won't be repurchasing. And I would say this foundation is number 6 on my list. So it's something I would think of revisiting down the line. But because I already have some other foundations on the go, and I just think that some of the newer releases have surpassed this foundation. This used to be my Holy Grail foundation. I will not be repurchasing this. It took me so long to get through as well, about 3 years, and I think these are only supposed to be good for a year. So while I love this, I think it is very beautiful. If you're looking for something that's dewy, but that also does have that soft focus effect that looks like skin, really recommend this, but it's just not super long lasting. It has that really nice light buildable to medium coverage. But again, I just think that I have a few better foundations currently. I'm honestly super impressed with the amount of foundations that I went through last year now that I'm looking at my empties in full force. But another foundation that I went through is the Chantecaille. This is the Future Skin Oil-Free Gel Foundation in the shade Cream. Now that I'm not self-tanning as much, Cream is a little bit too warm and deep for me. I think it's vanilla. That's more my shade. It's still a little bit too. The shades with Chantecaille aren't extremely perfect. But this is a really beautiful foundation. This is one of the most skin-like foundations. I would say it's similar to the Surratt Dewdrop, but this foundation is less dewy and even more skin-like. Because the Surratt Dewdrop foundation is more dewy, it's not as skin-like, where this dries down to a really beautiful velvet finish. It's not matte, but it's not dewy, kind of that perfect in between. And this is something I'll rely on when I want my makeup to not look like makeup, where I want my skin to look good. It's kind of a step above the Chanel Water Fresh tint, so it's going to give you more than a sheer tint of coverage, but it is very blendable into the skin. It melts right in. It is undetectable on the skin. If you are looking for something that's perfect for those no makeup days where you just want to enhance your skin and make your skin look even better than it does without no makeup on, this is a product I'd recommend, and this is a product I have already repurchased. I repurchased it in the shade Vanilla, and I also repurchased it in the shade Porcelain. I got the shade Porcelain. It's a very light shade because some of my foundations are a little bit too deep, and this foundation works really well to mix into other foundations, so I just thought I'd get a light foundation just to mix in with some of my deeper foundations so I can make them work in every season. So I love that. This is a repurchase for me. I went through 2 of the Dior Capture Totale Super Potent Serum foundations, both in the shade 3N. Probably, it's so hard to say what my Holy Grail foundation, but this is pretty close up there to my Holy Grail foundation. It is beautiful. It is skin perfecting, but it is not cakey in any way. It does not look heavy. It is very skin-like. It enhances your skin and makes your skin look even better. Again, without it looking makeup-y, it has a beautiful velvet finish, not too dewy, not too matte, that perfect in-between where it's just so beautiful. This is pore perfecting. It is texture perfecting, blurring, soft focus on the skin. For me, this lasts all day long. I don't need to touch it up. One of the most beautiful foundations out there. I have nothing bad to say. No, I do, because I wish the shade range was better on this, but I just love how it applies. I love how it sits on my skin. This is a foundation that I get compliments on my skin, which I think is better than getting compliments on your makeup. I'd rather get compliments on how my skin looks. When I wear this foundation, I get compliments on how my skin looks, which doesn't really happen that often. Like, I'm not someone, people don't usually compliment me on how I look out in public. But with this foundation, I have a few times been complimented on my skin, and I always feel like that's a really good sign that a foundation is working well. I just love this, and I have repurchased it. I have a backup here, so this is something that I will continuously repurchase. I love this. Clearly, I went through 2 of them. And then the last foundation that I went through is the Clé de Peau Radiant Fluid Foundation Natural in the shade 030 Medium Ochre. I love this foundation. It is so beautiful. One of my favorites. I would say it's very comparable to the Dior Capture Totale Super Potent Serum Foundation, except that it has a little bit more coverage. Honestly, they're so similar. I would say it just has a little bit more coverage than the Dior. A little bit of better shade range than the Dior as well. You have a few more options. And again, this is something that's super blurring on the skin. It is skin perfecting, soft focus effect. This is a product that I actually was trying to repurchase, but Clé de Peau is very hard to find in Canada. We can only get it at Holt Renfrew and the Clé de Peau Canada site. We don't have Nordstrom anymore. They closed down, so we can't get it off there. But this is a foundation that I tried to repurchase. However, they are sold out in my shade on both the Clé de Peau site and the Holt Renfrew site, so I have not been able to repurchase it, but I would 1,000,000% repurchase this foundation, and I will repurchase it when it comes back into stock because this is stunning. Again, very, very comparable to my Dior Capture Totale. I feel like I'll have to do a side-by-side once I get this back in stock because I've been out of this foundation for about 6 months, and I can't really remember how these 2 would compare, but once I'm able to repurchase this, I will definitely do a side-by-side. Of course, the Dior is going to be cheaper than the Clé de Peau one, but this has great longevity, looks beautiful on the skin all day long, blurring, again, all those things I love. A really beautiful medium coverage foundation that doesn't look cakey, doesn't look heavy, just a bit more coverage than the Dior foundation. Just a beautiful, perfecting foundation that is lovely. Clé de Peau just really excels at their foundations, so definitely will be repurchasing that when I have the opportunity to. I also went through, 3 of the Dior Forever Skin Correct Concealers. So this is actually a concealer I don't talk a lot about on my channel because I actually like other concealers better. Like I like the Sisley concealer better, the Chanel Sublimage concealer better. I like the Chantecaille. They have that kind of little pen. I like that better. However, I use this more when I'm like going to the gym in the morning because I don't want to use my really expensive $100 concealers to just go to the gym. I feel like that's a waste of money. So because I go to the gym every day, I do actually use this a lot. And I will repurchase this because, again, it's good for when I'm running errands, when I don't necessarily want to use my more expensive concealers. I tend to kind of save those products for more like special occasions, or if I'm going out in the evening, or if I have plans during the day. However, I like to use these when I am working from home or when, again, I'm going to the gym, running errands. So I do use this a lot. And the thing about this concealer is it isn't that long lasting. Like, this is only good for 6 months, so it doesn't have the greatest shelf life. And I also find that even though it does contain 0.37 fluid ounces of product, which is, I guess, typical in a concealer, I tend to run through it really fast. And I think it's just because a lot of product comes out on the wand. And then when you get down to the bottom, it's just such an awkward container that you can't really get the rest out. But besides that, it is a very beautiful concealer. They recently changed the formula. I have not tried out the new formula. I still have another one that I'm working through that is actually the old formula. But once I run through my current one, I will pick up the new formula and see how it is. But I really like this, and I really like this as well because it's a concealer that works really well on the face. So I like to use this under the eyes. It works really well. It doesn't crease. Has a really nice medium coverage, but it also works well on the face, especially if I don't want to wear foundation for the day. I'll just apply this on my face in any areas where there's maybe a bit of redness, or if I have a blemish or something like that. I can apply this on the face as well. So this is a great option if you're looking for an all-rounder concealer that works well for your under eyes and on the face, because a lot of concealers, they don't work well on both areas of the face. This one does. So that I already have repurchased and I would recommend as well. And then I also went through a Clé de Peau corrector. This is the Radiant Corrector for Eyes in the shade Almond. Now, I love this. It is so, so beautiful on the under eye region. It adds a bit of brightness. It adds a little bit of color correction, but it's not over the top. It's a very natural looking concealer, so it kind of just enhances your skin. It's something that I like to wear on an everyday basis because, again, it's very natural and it just adds that really nice brightness on the under eye region that it just adds that slight light reflection that, again, adds that kind of soft focus effect that just looks really beautiful. It's kind of a product that I'll add over top of a concealer to add that brightness, and it honestly, those little subtle touches in your makeup make the biggest difference. This doesn't crease. It's a very natural looking concealer. Unfortunately, I don't know how it is in the US, but it seems that this has been discontinued. It is no longer on the Clé de Peau site. So I'm not quite sure if this is being discontinued or maybe they are reformulating it because Clé de Peau does seem to be going through a little bit of a brand overhaul, and they seem to be reformulating some products and re-releasing really popular products with kind of an updated formula. So hopefully this will come back because I really, really enjoy this, and this is something I would repurchase if I could. And next, I also went through the Clé de Peau concealer. So this was the Broad Spectrum SPF 25 Stick Concealer. This I really loved. So they came out with a new formula. So this was actually the old formula. The difference between the new and old formula, this older formula had a more matte finish and actually had a fuller coverage. So I would say it looked a little bit more makeup-y just because it was a fuller coverage and a matte finish. The newer formula has a little bit less coverage and has a more skin-like finish to it because it has a little bit more, it's not dewy in any way, but it just has a little bit more of a radiance to it than this old formula, which was completely matte. I really liked the old formula, but I do think the new formula is actually a step above of the old formula. And I think it's just because it looks a little bit more natural. It's not as heavy. So I've already repurchased this, but in the new formula, and I absolutely love that. And I do wear the shade Almond in this one. Let's talk about powders. I went through a lot of Givenchy powders. Again, this is a collective of like a year and a half. So I went through the Givenchy Powder Premier. So this was the matte and translucent finish loose powder. So this was actually just a translucent powder. It looked almost like an off-white shade, extremely finely milled. I did really like this powder. However, I thought it was a little bit too mattifying for my skin. I'm someone with dry skin, and while it had a nice perfecting property to it, I don't think it did anything really fantastic for my skin personally. I just think it was just slightly too mattifying for me. Even though it did add that blurring effect, I just felt like after about 4 hours, I started to notice that my skin looked a little bit powdery because it was just a little bit too matte for my skin. So I liked it. If you have more oily skin, you might like this. If you have a deeper skin tone, you might not like this because I think it will leave behind a white cast. And then I also went through the two of the Givenchy Prisme Libre. This is the Matte Finish and Enhanced Radiance Loose Powder. And I believe, one of the shades was Voile Rosé, and then the other shade was Taffeta's Beige. I really enjoyed both of these. This is a really beautiful powder. Worked better for me than this powder over here that I just talked about. And I think this one worked better for me because it was a matte finish, but it had a radiance to it. So like it says, a matte finish and enhanced radiance loose powder. This had a little bit more of a sheen to it. Now the interesting thing about this is in daylight, in artificial light, like in this room, when I set my under eyes, I couldn't notice any detectable shimmer, but when I was out in the daylight in actual outdoor settings, and I looked at my under eye area, because I typically just use this to set my under eye, you can notice an ever so soft shimmer, like a little bit of a sporadic shimmer. So I don't love this for outdoor settings when you are going to be outside because you can see a little bit of that detectable shimmer. If you are in artificial lighting, I think it's fine. It does a really nice job of setting that under eyes. It has that blurred effect that I really like. It gives that soft focus effect, which I think is beautiful. However, I like the Rodial glass powder better, so I am not going to be repurchasing that. I like the Rodial glass powder better because they both have that very similar finely milled powder. Like these are extremely finely milled, both of them extremely finely milled. I like the Rodial because it is a bit of a translucent powder, but it has a bit of a tint to it. So it isn't that white translucent powder, which I don't think will work for deeper skin tones. It has a little bit more of a skin tint to it. So I think it is more of a universal powder that will work for everyone. And I like the Rodial one better. Again, these have a little bit of a color tint to them, so you can get them with like a hint of lavender to them, or a hint of beige or pink. And sometimes it just doesn't translate perfect to your skin tone. I like something that has more of a skin tone finish to it, which is why I gravitate more towards the Rodial. And I like the Rodial a bit more because, again, it doesn't have those detectable shimmer particles in it, where this does if you are in daylight. Where the Rodial, it just has a very beautiful skin-like finish, really blurred on the skin, a little bit more perfecting than the Givenchy. Even though I don't think these are bad, I would still recommend these, but the Rodial for me is just a holy grail, so I will repurchase the holy grail. I would repurchase my holy grail, and these, again, they're just nice, but why would I repurchase it when I have a better loose powder? If that makes sense. And then I also went through the YSL. I'll go over this one quickly because this is discontinued now. The Soufflé d'Éclat, this was their loose powder. This was so beautiful. I liked this. This was probably my favorite loose powder on the market. Again, it had a very, very soft sheen to it, but it wasn't a detectable shimmer. It was blurring, it was perfecting. I think I liked this one a little bit more than the Rodial glass powder, so I'm so upset that they have discontinued this. This also worked really well to buff in your makeup at the end of your makeup application. So sad that this is gone, but I loved this. This would be my holy grail if it was still available. I forgot one last product, powder product. This was the Sisley Blur Expert Powder. Now, I do have a little bit left, but it completely crumbled, so I am just going to get rid of it because there's just no point of having like crumbles left in your makeup. I absolutely love this powder. I have repurchased this powder. I already have a backup that I am currently using. This is really great to use as a priming product. So before you apply your foundation, you apply this onto the skin. You just kind of pat it into your skin, I want to say. You are not buffing it into your skin. You press it onto the skin to really get it adhered to like your pores, basically. And then when you apply foundation over top, this will make your skin look absolutely airbrushed, perfected, soft focus, blurred. This is the most blurring primer that I have in my collection. Something that I rely on for special occasions when I want my makeup to look special and just so beautiful. It doesn't look cakey even though you are applying a foundation or a powder product underneath your foundation. It just makes everything look really perfected and beautiful, but not heavy, not cakey. Still looks beautiful in person when you're up close next to someone. Highly recommend. It is beautiful. It does have a bit of a color correcting property to it too. So I find when I use this as a primer, I don't need as much foundation, which I really love and I think works perfectly for those special occasions as well. I just realized I forgot one foundation, and this is the Chantecaille Future Skin Cushion Foundation in the shade Nude. Now, I really like this foundation. It's nice, it's perfecting. Very similar to like the Dior Capture Totale, except it has more coverage and it's more matte on the skin, and I didn't love how this works for me in the fall and winter time. It is too drying on my skin. It works well in the summer, but I have an issue with this. First, the shelf life of this is only 8 months. Second of all, while this performs really beautifully when you first receive the foundation, after about 3 months, if you go and try to use this, basically all the product has been absorbed into the sponge and you can't use it anymore. So it's a really weird product. I only got about 8 uses out of this before it completely dried out on me. And I just don't think that's worth the money. It's an interesting foundation. While I think, again, it's blurring, it has nice longevity, especially in the spring and summertime. It looks nice. There's just something about how this is in this cushion that it doesn't hold up the best. And so for that reason, I will not be repurchasing, and I don't really recommend this. However, I am going to be keeping this because you can just buy refill little cushion sponges from Amazon, and when I go traveling, I'm just going to put like a little bit of a foundation that I have here and bring this with me traveling because I think this will travel really well. Then I don't need to bring a glass container, and sometimes I just don't like those jar packaging, those little ones that you can get on Amazon. I just like that I could take this for traveling. But yeah, this was an interesting foundation, and I know that they were supposed to be coming out with refills, but they still haven't, so I don't know if that is going to be happening. And then I also went through the Sisley. This is the only bronzing product I went through, so a note to myself is to not buy that many bronzers because I clearly don't go through any bronzers or blushes or highlights. So that's going to be something I'll try and be more thoughtful about buying those products, or maybe finding alternative ways to use bronzers, blushes, and highlights. But I also did go through the Sisley Photo Touch. This is the Sun Glow Bronzing Gel Powder. I didn't get completely through it, but I had already hit pan, and I had had this for such a long time. This is a Baked Gelée bronzer. It has a really beautiful sheen to it, but it isn't a shimmery bronzer. There's no detectable shimmer particles. This is a warm tone bronzer, but it's not orangey. So buildable on the skin. It is so forgiving on the skin. It's one of those bronzers that melts into the skin. So when you apply it, it applies like a powder, but it melts into the skin like a cream product would. It looks even more beautiful than a cream product would because I think it looks even more skin-like, and it's just so flattering. This is my favorite bronzer to wear in the summertime because it makes you look so youthful and just fresh and gorgeous. So beautiful if you like a bronzer with a little bit of a sheen. Very pricey, so I would recommend picking this up when Sisley does their 20% off sales because that's when I picked up my backup. I already have a backup, and they did change the packaging. The old one used to be silver. Now it is gold, so that is a product I would recommend. Even though it is pricey, get it at that 20% discount or whenever there is a sale, unless you don't want to spend that much money on a bronzer, because there are beautiful bronzers out there. I just like this bronzer when I'm looking for something with a little bit of a sheen. Of course, you don't need it though. And then I'm going to quickly go over lip products. I went through the Dior Lip Maximizer Lip Plumper. They reformulated this. I feel like the new formula is the exact same. I will repurchase this. I don't know, I'll get back to you on this one. I do have a backup, but once I go through my backup, I don't know if I will because I feel like I have other products that I really like. But again, I will keep you updated. I just like this to have in my handbag to apply. When I am prepping for my makeup, I usually apply this before I go in with any of my makeup. I like to apply this at night because it's nice and hydrating. I like to just throw this on throughout the day because it is hydrating like a lip balm is. My lips never feel drier afterwards. It's really nice. I also went through a Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Lip Cheat. I already have a backup of this. Probably my holy grail lip liner because it's very long wearing. It gives me my lips but better, and it's just something that I literally use probably 5 days a week. And then the last lip product I went through is the Merit Signature Lightweight Lipstick in the shade Baby. This I actually was sent from Merit, but I did go through it completely. And I've already repurchased a backup as well. So this is just a product I really love. It is incredibly lightweight for a lipstick. It gives you like a satin finish, but it gives you probably like a sheer coverage. And it just makes your lips look so juicy and lovely. And it makes your lips feel better after you've had this product on. There's something really enhancing about this shade particularly. It has that nice rosebud shade. It pairs really well with the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk. I just love this as an everyday lipstick. It is so incredibly flattering. And it's that type of formula that melts into your lips where I don't necessarily think you need a lip liner either. Probably, yeah, one of the best products ever. And then I went through a bunch of mascaras. So I went through one of the Dior. This is the 3D Lash Maximizer Triple Volume Plumping Lash Primer. All the names. I love this Holy Grail Lash Primer. If you want your mascara to perform even better, try this out. Love it. I went through Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Push Up Lashes in the shade Super Black. I like this. It didn't have any flaking, no smudging. I thought it performed nicely. I'd recommend it if you're looking for something with length and volume. That's just a nice overall performer, but it's not my holy grail, so I will not be repurchasing. I also went through the Kier Weiss. This is the Impossible Mascara. I loved this. This was my holy grail. It gave me really fluffy, beautiful lashes, didn't flake or smudge, a little bit more natural looking than the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk. I loved this. However, I found a replacement, and that replacement is the Gucci Mascara L'Obscure in the shade Eve Black. Holy grail. Love this mascara. Perfect length, perfect volume, never smudges, never flakes, consistent throughout the whole entire time that you have this mascara. This is the best mascara. I have 2 backups already. I'll probably repurchase another backup when Sephora's doing another sale. And then I also tried out the Rare Beauty. This is the Just Mascara. When this was released, I feel like a lot of people were sent it in PR or something, and people were saying it's their holy grail, it's the best mascara, and I fell for the hype. No, this is not. This was one of the worst mascaras that I have tried. It was a little bit clumpy, it smudged, it flaked. Don't recommend that one at all. And then the last product I went through, or last mascara, is the Chantecaille Faux Seal Longest Lash Mascara. I was actually kindly sent this from Chantecaille. I have actually never purchased this myself. Chantecaille has sent me this and another one. I like this mascara. I think it is lovely. It gives you nice length. It gives you nice volume. However, the Gucci mascara is better. This mascara, again, while it's nice, it's $100 in Canada. Is it $100 every 6 months nice? No, it's not. I don't think there's supposed to be like a conditioning agent to this, which is supposed to lengthen your lashes in the long run. I didn't see a difference, but I also use Latisse. Maybe you see a difference. But for me, if I were to tell you to spend your hard-earned money, like I just can't tell you to spend your hard-earned money on this mascara. Now, if Chantecaille sends me one of these, I will use it because they sent it to me. But I don't think it is worth you spending $100, or I don't know how much it is in the US, but I just don't think it's worth the money. I think that is too high of a price point, especially because mascara is a product you have to buy every 6 months. And to spend that kind of money on a mascara just seems a little silly to me. If you have money to burn, definitely would recommend it. But I do think that the Gucci mascara performs better consistently. It gives me better length and volume. So for me, I might as well, like I'd just rather repurchase a mascara that looks even better on my lashes. I would say Gucci mascara looks the best on my lashes. And then the Chantecaille is in second place. So for me, I would just rather repurchase the mascara that looks the best. It's my holy grail. But I do like the Chantecaille mascara, and I think it is nice. I just don't think it's worth the high price point. But that is everything for my luxury beauty empties. I will stop talking now because this video is probably so long. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'd love to know if you have consistently gone through any products in your collection. I think it's always interesting to kind of keep your products and see what you are actually getting the most use out of, and to see what products you are repurchasing. I find that very fascinating. So let me know your most repurchased products. I would love to hear from you. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Like this video if you like it, and I'll see you in my next video.